My partner Nicolas Lozano and me, Giovanni Valero, are going to talk about the Anglo-Saxon period, the Elizabethan era, the Industrial Revolution, the post-war literature, utopia and dystopia, and the Roaring Twenties and the Lost Generation and modern classics with some representations. The Anglo-Saxon period denotes English history between approximately 550. It denotes it developed from the adoption of Christianity by the people and threatened by prolonged Danish Vikings invasions and military occupation of eastern England. In addition, the term Anglo-Saxon is used to denote the language now called Old English, spoken and written by the Anglo-Saxon and their descendants of what is now England and the southern part of Scotland. And the Anglo-Saxon culture can still be seen today in architecture, style of dress, illuminated manuscripts, metalworks, and other artistic manifestations. The era is the era in English history marked by the reign of Queen Elizabeth I in 1558 and 1603. Historians often refer to this period as the golden age of English history. During this period, England experienced an intense phase of economic, cultural, and social development. This golden age represents the heyday of the English Renaissance and saw the flowering of poetry, music, and literature. This period is famous for the theater, mainly that of William Shakespeare and many other dramatists who liberate themselves from the past style of English theater. Hamlet is a tragedy of revenge. It is about a spirit of a father who asks his son, Prince of Denmark, to avenge the murder that his own brother committed. However, the play of Shakespeare does not emphasize the relation of revenge, but the inner conflict of the hero takes priority. Hamlet is shown as an indecisive intellectual who constantly questions himself and reality and is therefore incapable to acting. So the drama of William Shakespeare, Hamlet, consists of 5 acts and is organized according to the model of classical tragedy with a sequences of exposition, introduction, establishment, and escalation of conflict, perperia, turning point, and catastrophe, with its 20 scenes and around 4,000 lines.
Approximately 40% of which are spoken by the protagonist. It should be noted that this is Shakespeare's longest play. In the first act, the background is described, which is the murder of Hamlet's father. Subsequently, in the following acts, both of the conflict between Hamlet and his adversaries and the internal conflict of the protagonist intensify. Shakespeare's tragedy Hamlet is intensely influenced by revenge. The latter refers to the Roman philosopher, statesman, and poet Seneca, the Trojans, Medea, Edipo, and others, and was developed by English playwrights for the national stage in the Elizabethan era. Finally, it's important to mention the Spanish tragedy by Thomas Kidd, which directly influenced the play, as it was a basic story to develop Hamlet's monologue. And this work of Shakespeare was created between 1600 and 1603, as it focused on what is the feeling as part of the human being, and during this time it was preferred in the best way until its presentation. Hamlet's speech, to be or not to be, that is the question, by William Shakespeare. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks, that flesh is here too, this a consummation, devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death, what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life.
Who will bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's groan, the frowman's conly, the pagans on this spring's love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that passion merit of unworthy takes? We he himself might his quietus makes, with a bare bodkin, who would furthest bear, to ground and sweat under a weary life, but that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country, from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather betose we have, than fly to others that we know well not of, to conscience that may coerce of us out, and thus the native hold of resolution is secret o'er with the paid cast of thought, and enterprise of great beat and moment, with disregard the current turns away, and lose the name of action.
In this second term, first of all, we have the Industrial Revolution in Britain, that is a significant change that marked the end of one era and the beginning of the another one that currently is dominated by machines, and it is a period of first social transformation that is about the political stability, that it was a point of stable governance where they will be able to make investments in the industry, also improve the working condition for people, and the environment was so affected by the pollution. Second, we have the technological transformation, that is about the abundance of natural materials as the iron that help them to develop new machinery and other inventions. And finally, we have the economic transformations, that is about the British colonies, that provide some raw materials contributing to economic growth. And in the other hand, we have the beginning of the globalization, helping to improve the world. And the second topic that we have is about the post-war literature, where in this part of the story, the literature had a central topic. For example, Kingsley Amis wrote novels that contain aspects as a social critic. Another one is John Byte, who wrote about the economic conditions of Britain. Other things that was also important part of this literature was about the experience of some people who has come from the war, the experience and traumas that brought with them those living conditions. For example, we decided to analyze the work Modern Times by Charles Chaplin, who showed the change of the society across the time and the adaptation of new inventions.
My name is Charles Chaplin. I work in a factory tightening bolts. I work from 12 to 16 hours per day. and the salary I get paid is $2 per day.
Hello, I am the political leader, and under my command is the factory where Charles works. For me, it's important that the workers were efficient and didn't ask for so many breaks.
To begin, this society used to demand workers like me to give our maximum effort, but now we are tired to not having a flexible schedule to able to have a balance between work and rest.
We did this because our society needs to keep moving forward, and with workers, we achieve a great productivity rate.
But they don't take into account our health. So most of us get sick with nervous breakdown, not mention a few others illnesses, and when we need to go to the hospital, the company fires us.
Because of this, there have been many protests by workers seeking their freedom, and in this case, the police act immediately, considering this act as vandalism and capturing the leader of the march.
It is understandable that society needs workers. However, people like us also need time to rest and make our own lives.
This kind of thing has led to the fact that with the Industrial Revolution, workers have fought to have rights that protect them, which we must respect.
But this decision was taken too late because, in my case, I ended up in poverty and had to flee with my wife.
We understand that before the Industrial Revolution, and taking into account the work, workers didn't have adequate rights and were forced to exercise very heavy labor where they overtakes their bodies.
Society and politics are linked in the play because they talk about the processes that took in that time, telling about the problems and difficulties that they had to go through. Utopia and dystopia. Utopia refers to a perfect place where everything happens without conflict and harmony. There are different types of utopias, and all of them pretend to reach that idea goal that is close to perfection. There are social, economic, ecological, and religious utopia, among many others. Dystopia is an undesirable fictional society or situation, and it is usually represented in novels, series, essays, video games, and movies. The running 20s correspond to the period of calm after the First World War. Also emerged the lost generations of writers such as Ernest Hemingway or Francis Scott Fitzgerald, who published the novel The Great Gatsby in 1926, a true symbol of the era. This also had a substantial influence in Europa, which imported jazz, charleston, shimmy, as well as cabaret dancing and cinema. But this prosperity would last for a short period, ending in October 24 in 1929, known as Black Thursday, which would finally culminate the advent of the Great Depression.
Finally, in this last term, we have the Lost Generation that is focusing writers, poets, and artists who express their disillusionment with the establishment. They try to understand the meaning of their life and they try to deal with the trauma of the war. In this part of the time, where an artistic revolution in terms of artistic expression, challenging traditional norms and aesthetics. Another thing that is also important is the social impact, where they wrote about the psychological and emotional toll of the war, contributing to the cultural discourse on trauma and resilience. Some characteristics of this topic are first, the society fights hold post-war and institutions and develop feelings about the loss of some people who suffers in this changing world. And the last one is about modern classics. That this topic is about the change in the literature after the First World War, even after the second one, because it marks an after where currently people look the war in a different way with their defects, and also because those cataclysmic events shift the way in that the war sees itself in irreversible
Red
ways.
Gatsby is a novel by Scott Fitzgerald published in 1925, considered one of the representative works of the Roaring Twenties. The works follow the life of Jake Gatsby, a rich man infatuated with a woman named Daisy Butchman. This story is narrated by Nick Carraway, a quiet boy who came to Long Island, who analyzes his neighbor Jake Gatsby and knows that he has something to hide. And this novel showed the 20s where people were after overcoming First World War and how the behavior of the rich was, because that is what the novel is based on. It has its key themes, which are the American dreams, love, money, and corruption. In the first stage, Gatsby believed that he could fix things as he did before, and be able to have his youthful love, Daisy. But in the end, he does not get it. It also covers topics such as dysfunctional love, as Tom and Daisy had when they shared on each other, and the love that Gatsby had with Daisy could turn on an obsession. And finally, it is known that in the novel, the rich are divided by those of new money, earned, and old money, hereditary, and how they despite each other, showing that they lack empathy. Besides that, Gatsby, having a poor past, the money he earned is illegal. For example, in that part, my cousin has an indiscreet voice. I remarked a voice full of. I hesitated for a moment. A voice full of money, said Gatsby suddenly. In this part, despite the promise that Daisy made to Gatsby, she abandons him and uses her money to leave New York without facing the consequences she has made to Gatsby as well as to Martin.
Now, talking about modern classics, the literary work that I decide to analyze is Satanas by Mario Mendoza, thinking about the past and taking into account the present. I can notice that this book is an important part of the Bogota society because specifically they talking about the end of the work. The book tells us that one man, Campo Elias Delgado, an English teacher that all the time appeared to be good, one day decided to end with his suffering. So he was a common person, he worked, and some days he goes to the church. But He was also a former combat of the Vietnam War and had been traumatized by the experience that he had lived throughout. With this literary work, I want to analyze that it's important to take into account that our experiences are the most important part of our lives because they make us the person that we already are. In this way, about the literary work after the war, we can notice that the society actually changed in a bad way. People that is around us have their personal conflict. They generally show a different face when they are with certain people, but they are themselves when they are alone. For this reason, it's important to face those situations that hurt us internally and fight to move forward without letting that those negative emotions consume us. Finally, this type of story shows to the society one face that most of them want to ignore, but is a reality. Thank you.